Welcome to another edition of Africa Sideways. My name's Big Six Simpson, and we got something from China today, something that's making noises in the mid-size SUV market, and that is the Haval H6 2-liter turbo. Now, I've been seeing a lot of these on the road lately. I can't deny that. Is it the price? Is it the emerging Chinese manufacturers getting a better name? Could we be seeing a shift similar like we saw in the 70s, where the Japanese cars were able to make inroads into the once powerful British and American car industries? You know, I think this Haval H6 is going to be a game changer, ladies and gentlemen. I've just taken it on a 1,000 kilometer road trip to the garden route. Took it down the highway, obviously, but knowing me and Africa Sideways, we took a lot of byways as well, and this thing was planted on gravel. I must say, don't tell anybody, but on gravel this felt better than a RAV4. They haven't gone shrimpy on the tires. They put Cooper tires on here, which makes the world of difference. When you're going on substandard roads, you need to be able to trust your tire. And a lot of the time, vehicle manufacturers put ultra low profile tires on, or substandard brands. They might make it an incredibly reliable car, but if your tires are got weak sidewalls and whatnot, especially in the SUV range where you want to kind of get out and about and see the world, do some gravel roads, that does make a difference. Granted, these are on 19-inch rims, but the Coopers, I just know them from the 4x4 game. If they're good enough for Paul Marsh, they're good enough for me. Even though these are the highway terrain, they look really good. Feels very planted on gravel. Took it to Jubilee Creek and Eisner, through the forest on some really bumpy roads, and it almost feels like body on frame, to be honest. I'm pretty sure it's mono frame, but it feels like a bucky sort of suspension, which is very, very good. I must say, the first thing I noticed when I got in this car was the brakes are a little bit softer. They could do with a slightly bigger brake caliper on the front, I think, because it's a very powerful car. You can do at least 200 kilometers an hour on this thing, 147 kilowatts, I think. This is the same engine that's in the H9 that's tuned up to 180 kilowatts. That's approaching Golf GTI territory, but that's in a much bigger car. So you could say it's a little underpowered, but I wouldn't say the H6 is underpowered at all. You get two modes. You get sport mode. We can really bury it in there, and there's a fair amount of beeping that goes on in this car. I must be honest. There's a beeper when I first got in the car, there was a speed beeper that beeps every time you hit 120, and the 120 being the speed limit in South Africa, I was hitting that thing all the time. Luckily, I've just played around with it a bit, and you can adjust that to whatever speed you want. So, and once I got that beep out of the way, the other beeps aren't that intrusive. And then you got economy mode. The one thing I don't like is it beeps every time you change mode. If you put it into cruise control, and then we cruise set. You see, every time you change the speed, it beeps. I would say the things I don't like about this car, they could work on the beeps. Not everything needs to be a beep about it. If I'm changing the speed on the cruise control, you don't need to tell me that. I know I'm doing it. It's nice to be able to play around with it. Thankfully, the speed beep is adjustable, so that's not an issue. It also beeps quite a bit when you're parking, but you can take that off. It's got a nice reverse camera. In terms of fuel economy, driving conservatively, averaging about 110 to 120 kilometers an hour, I got 8.4 liters per 100 k's, which is really good for a car this size. And then with more sort of average spirited driving, got 10 liters per 100 k's, which I'm happy with for a car this size. It really does amble along. Yeah, we're doing 110 at just over 2,000 revs. Very impressed with the gearbox in this car. Smooth and responsive. When you bury the foot in, it's all there, ladies and gentlemen. Definitely fast enough. Perfectly powered. Just the brakes could do with a little. I would like a slightly more solid brake on this car, but they've got the brief right in a lot of ways. Comfortable seats, plenty of leg room in the back. The boot's average sized, but the key selling point is price on this car. But this is 50,000 Rand cheaper than your RAV4s and your Mazda CX-5s, the sort of competition for this car. So the question is, are you getting as good? Here comes some flyboys. Oh dear, we're hitting the traffic now. The question is, are you getting as good a car as the RAV4 or the CX-5 for less money? And to be honest, having driven all these cars, I can safely say this is on a par. I drove the RAV4 recently, the 2.4, and I find it to be very solidly made, but a little bit high revving with an automatic gearbox. I'd say this gearbox feels better than the RAV4. You know, with Toyota you got bulletproof reliability. With this truck, you know, it's still so new. What am I doing here? Sorry. Thank you. This car is still so new that it's relatively new, that the reliability is to be confirmed. Here we are sitting in the traffic, and it's very, very pleasant. Just ambles along, not a care in the world. So yeah, so back to my point on price. This is approximately 50,000 Rand cheaper than the competition. It feels as good to drive as a RAV4 or a CX-5, space-wise, looks-wise. Most of the stuff is made in China, Thailand, in the East anyway, so I think what Haval's done is they've taken out the middleman, and the Chinese are making their own cars. That they've learned probably a lot from manufacturing a lot of the world's best cars. And to drive, it's all there, ladies and gentlemen. Windscreen wipers are good on the car. Love the sunroof. You can tilt it and then pull it all the way open. Another nice feature is when it's a hot day, you can have the window open but close the shade cloth so you don't get sunburnt, which is helpful for a Scotsman like me. The thing also about Haval is they haven't tried to reinvent the wheel here. They've kind of borrowed a lot of the older Japanese technology, which works just fine. So you're going to find a lot of 10 to 15-year-old Japanese technology in here. What that and a lot of Chinese engineering as well. But what that means is you're getting tried and tested technology. So this is not a completely re-engineered car. Sure, the infotainment center could be improved, and I would kind of expect sat-nav in this range of vehicle. But for the price, I mean, I don't need that. I need something reliable and powerful, and you've definitely got that in this vehicle. So all in all, drivability, 9 out of 10. Cornering, that's one thing I need to talk about. Cornering is fantastic in this car. It's one of the best cornering SUVs I've ever been in. At first, I think it must have electronic steering, because at first I found it very heavy at the higher speeds you get. Once you get to about 120 in your cornering, it really stiffens up like a sports mode on a Ford Focus RS or something like that. But it really does corner exceptionally well. And once again, having the really top-end Cooper tires on there really assists with that as well. A lot of the time you might have an expensive fancy suspension, but if you have average tires on, you're going to get a lot of the time average handling. So all in all, I'm very impressed with this vehicle. Very economical. I got 454 k's from Cape Town to Sedgefield on under one tank. So you can safely say you can probably do about 600 kilometers off a tank of petrol. And it cost you probably about 750, 800 rand to fill up. So in the real world, it cost 600 rand to drive to Sedgefield, which is a good 5-hour drive on the highway. So you really can't argue with that. So more to come on Africa Sideways. I'm getting the Ford Tornio bus later this month. Might take it on a little adventure. Got some more Paul Marsh coming up, and a few more sounds from my travels. So catch you next time. Whoa, dude. Look at the flags on that bike. So catch you next time on Africa Sideways. What do you say, Flockers? H6.
Incredible.
They cracked the code with this one, dude.
This is really a fun machine.
It is indeed, dude. Haval's looking great here on eyes now. Really good ground clearance. It comes in handy on these off-road tracks. Only front wheel drive, so you're not going to do heavy four-wheeling, but for this kind of gravel through the garden route, couldn't think of anything better. Looks pretty solid underneath, yeah. Not sure about these exhaust pipes. They look good, but under closer inspection, looks maybe deceiving. In terms of boot size, it's a little bit sandy, but it's effective. Great for the beach, this car, as you can see. Loads of space, cabin space. Great for long trips.